Jai Ho students, I am Ratnakar Suryamshi from SK Public School. See, till the last period or the last class, we have, that we have started already the federalism, and in the last class, we have learnt mainly about the meaning of federalism. So once again, I'd like to repeat the meaning of federalism. Federalism is a system of government in which the power is divided between a central authority and various constituent units of the country. So this is what we call federalism. About the meaning we have learned, as I told you that, and obviously in a federation, I mean in a federal countries, we can say at least two types of governments or two forms of government or two levels of or two tiers of governments. Which are those? One is central government and second one is state government. But in India we have commonly three. I mean we have even local self government, I mean municipalities and panchayat system or panchayat raj system. This is also we have as a third tier of the government or third level of the government. But in all the federal countries at least we can see the two tiers of government. As I told you that one is central government. Central government is also called as union government, correct? No? And central government is responsible or answerable to all the citizens who are living within the particular country. I mean, we are the part of this country and the central government is responsible or answerable to us. And state governments are there. State governments are responsible to the citizens or the people who are living in that particular state. For example, Karnataka, it is a state and the Karnataka government is answerable to the citizens or to the people those who are living in this Karnataka. So this is what obviously we get two at least or two tiers of government we call, and both these levels of governments enjoy their power independent of each other. I mean both the levels of government, they have their own independent power. And after this we have learnt about how federations are formed. I mean even I told you two forms of government here. We have learnt about unitary system of government as well as federal system of government. Unitary system, I told you that in unitary system either there is only one level of government or there may be the existence of subunits, I mean the state governments. But the power to the state governments or to the provincial governments are given by central government, and central government has all the power, all the right or authority to withdraw those given powers to the state government at any cost or at any time whenever it required. Which means in the unitary system state governments do not have power, they are subordinate to the central government. Belgium, if we take example, before 1993 Belgium has state governments too, but state governments were subservience, I mean those were subordinate to the central government. And but in federation, I mean in federal system of government, it is very different. Why? Because in federal system the central government cannot order the state government to do something, and state government has its own power. State government also has its own power like central government in federal system of the governments. And both the governments, state government as well as central government, both the governments are responsible, answerable to the people separately. Both the governments like state as well as central government, both are responsible, answerable to the people, to the citizens separately. So this is the difference between unitary system of government and federal system of government. And then now today we are going to learn about one more important point, that is the main key features of the federalism. Here we are going to learn about the main key features of the federalism. So first one is, or the first key feature of the federalism is, there are two or more than two levels of government. At least in federal countries we can see at least two levels of government or more than two levels of government we can commonly find in the federal countries. India, if we take, I told you that in India mainly two, but obviously we have three levels of or three tiers of government. Which are those three tiers? Central government, state government, and panchayat system or local self government including municipality. So these are the three in India, but in other countries at least we can find two, and in Belgium no need to tell, you have found four types almost. Correct, no? Community government, central government, state government, separate government for Brussels you have found. I mean, this is what we call at least two or more than two levels of governments can be found in the federal nation. So this is the first feature of the federalism. Then the second one, different tiers of government govern the same citizens, but each tier has its own jurisdiction in specific matters of legislation, taxation, and administration. See, different tiers of the government, they govern, they administer the same citizens. For example, I am the citizen, I am the person of India as well as I am the person of Karnataka also, which means different central government India, Karnataka's means state government. So different tiers, different levels of the government, they administer the same citizens, but each government, each level of the government, each tier of the government has its own jurisdiction. Now what is the meaning of jurisdiction? Jurisdiction means the area over which someone has legal authority, the area or a thing on which or over which a person or a thing has legal, constitutional, or judicial authority, judicial right, that is we call jurisdiction. So each tier or each level of the government has its own power, has its own legal authority or power in specific matters of legislation. Legislation means bringing laws, passing laws, and taxation, imposing tax, that is what we call taxation, and the administration. So in the matters of legislation, taxation, and administration, each tier of the government has its own legal authority or jurisdiction, but all the governments, they govern the same citizens. So this is the second feature of the federalism. Then third one, the the jurisdiction of the respective tiers of the government are specified in the constitution. So the existence and authority of the government is constitutionally guaranteed. See, the jurisdiction of the respective tiers of the government are specified in the constitution. I mean, over what issue, which type of government, which level of government has right, it is already written, it is already prescribed, specified, explained, interpreted in the constitution. So which means each level of the government, the existence and the authority of each tier or each level of the government, it is constitutionally given or constitutionally guaranteed. State government, the existence and the power of the state government is given by the constitution, which means constitutionally guaranteed. State governments as well as central governments, central government we have, and both they have different jurisdictions over taxation as well as legislation and over administration. So this is the third important key feature of the federalism. Next, now the fourth one. See, the fourth key feature of the federalism is the fundamental provisions of the constitution cannot be unilaterally changed by any one level of government. So such changes require the consent of both the levels of government. Say, main fundamental basics or the main basis or the base of the constitution, for example fundamental rights, if we take these fundamental rights or the articles related to the fundamental rights or the laws relating to the fundamental rights cannot be changed unilaterally by any one level of the government. I mean, state government or central government unilaterally, I mean independently alone, they can't make changes in the fundamental provisions of the constitution. If they want to make changes, then both the levels of the government, state government as well as central government, both the levels of the government need to give their consent, approval we call. Both the governments need to give their consent, then only the basic or the fundamental provisions of the constitution can be changed. But one thing you have to understand, that the provisions or the fundamental provisions or the basic provisions of the constitution cannot be unilaterally changed by any one level of the government. Central government alone cannot make any changes in the fundamental provisions of the government without the consent of the state governments. So this is the fourth key feature of the federalism. Then fifth one, courts have power to interpret the constitution and the powers of different levels of government. The highest court acts as an umpire if the disputes arise. If the disputes arise between different levels of government in the exercise of their respective powers. See, courts have the power to interpret the constitution. You know that mainly Supreme Court has the power, right, to interpret the constitution according to the contemporary situations. So the courts have the power to interpret, I mean give the particular meaning to that particular article or the particular explanation which is there in the constitution. That is what we call interpret. So courts have the right or the power to interpret the constitution, and the powers of the different levels of the government, I mean the powers of the different levels of the government also can be fixed, can be interpreted by the courts only, especially by the Supreme Court. You know that the highest court of India is Supreme Court. So Supreme Court acts as an umpire. It acts, highest court called Supreme Court acts as an umpire if disputes arise. If disputes arise between different level, I mean between the state government and central government, if the disputes arise in the exercisation or in the exercise of power, their respective power, then who can decide this? Our highest court, I mean our Supreme Court, can decide the power who has to exercise over a particular issue or a particular matter. So this is the fifth key feature of the federalism. Then the sixth one, sources of revenue. Sources of revenue for each level of the government are clearly specified to ensure its financial autonomy. I mean, what are the sources central government has in the form of income, and what are the sources are there to the state government for its financial autonomy. This is all specified by the constitution only. Already it is specified. I mean, who has to impose tax, what is the percent of tax has to be imposed by state or by the central government. It is already specified for their financial autonomy. I mean, states also have financial autonomy, financial independence, which means by imposing the tax, state can get income to conduct various developmental public oriented activities. Even central government also has the power to impose tax. So why the tax is important? Because for their own financial autonomy. So those sources of revenue are already specified. From what source the government, the state government or the central government should get income, it is already specified, it is already fixed. So this is the sixth main key feature of the federalism. Then the seventh one, the federal system has two objectives. I mean the federal system or the federalism has actually two important objectives. First one is to safeguard and promote the unity of the country. To safeguard, I mean to protect, as well as to develop the unity or to improve, increase or to promote the unity of the country. But as well as the federal system has second objective, that is accommodate regional diversity. I mean regional diversity also has to be maintained with the promotion of unity of the country, and with the protection and promotion of the unity of the country, the accommodation of regional diversity also be taken care. I mean, regional diversity also been protected. So this is the seventh key feature of the federalism. Then these are the seven important key features. These are the seven important key features of the federalism. Now we will see another important point. That is that is the two kinds of routes through which federations have formed. I mean, from two routes through which federations have been formed in this modern world. I feel you are understanding. From two sources or from two routes, federations have been formed. You know that one important point I would like to tell you, that the exact balance of power between central and state government varies from one federation to another federation. I mean, powers of state government and central government varied from one federal country to another federal country. It is different, obviously. For example, in India, the power which is or which are given or which are there with central government and state government are completely different from the powers which are there with central and regional governments in USA. It is different. State governments in USA, it is different. This is what we call, through from the two routes we can find how federations have been formed. So first one, now I am telling you the first one. The first one is coming together federations. Which one? The coming together federations. Just I am telling you, see, the first route, as I told you, that it is called as the coming together federations. Then why it is called as the coming together federation? See that here in the first route, I mean in the coming together federations, independent states they come together. Independent states they come together on their own to form a bigger unit. States are independent, but they come together on their own voluntarily. All those states come together and they form one bigger unity. So that by pooling sovereignty and retaining identity, they can increase their security. Why they come together? To have their own security as well as to retain their identity, to protect their identity as well as to have proper security. They, all those independent states come together and they form one bigger unity. And this type of system is called as coming together federations. It is obviously called as coming together federations. And see, examples for this are USA, United States of America. Once again I repeat, see, United States of America, Switzerland, as well as Australia. USA, Switzerland and Australia. These are the three countries which are the best example for the coming together federations. Why? Because in these countries states are independent, but all those states came together on their own voluntarily. All those states came together and they have formed a bigger unity for the purpose to retain their identity as well as to maintain their security. So this is what we call coming together federations. So important examples to the coming together federations are USA, Switzerland and Australia. Now the second one. Second, see, in the first one even we can add still more points. See, in the coming together federations, all the constituent states usually have equal power and are strong as a federal government. I mean, in the coming together federations, state governments are equal to the central government. State governments are strong. State governments have equal power comparing to the central government or the federal government in USA, Switzerland and in Australia. And in the second route I am telling, second route is holding together federations. What we call holding together federation. See, in the second route, large country decides to divide its power between constituent states and the national government. Large country like India, best example is India only for the holding together. Large country decides to divide its power between central and constituent units. Those constituent units are called as state governments. So, India, Spain, as well as Belgium. India, Spain, and Belgium are the best examples for the holding together federations. And in the holding together federations, central government tends to be, central government has more power. In the holding together federations, central government has more power comparing to the state governments, and very often different constituent units of the federation have unequal powers. Some units are granted special power. Some states have some special powers in the holding together federations. For example, in the previously before last year, Kashmir had its own constitution. Special provisions were there to the Kashmir, but now these were all withdrawn. But this type of special provisions, special benefits were there or can be found in the various states in the holding together federations. So now we have completed the study of the key features of federalism, as well as we have completed the two types of routes or kinds of routes through which federations have formed. So hope you have understood, and the next topic will be continued. The next topic will be continued in the next class, that is what makes India a federal country. Here we are going to learn about the three lists. So how the legislative powers have been divided into three lists. About that mainly we will learn in the next class. That is the topic, what makes India a federal country. So that we will continue in the next class. Hope you have understood the key features of the federalism, as well as the two kinds of routes through which federations have formed. Thank you. Jai Hind.